A nigga might be from a third world country, but a nigga got standards.
Hello, this is Vedic Ghost, and I'm just driving in the car right now. I had to make this video because I was really thinking about it for a while, especially all day, and it came to me that, especially because all my life I've always been the person that everybody's always turned to or came to for help, and who's always provided the help because I've always been groomed to be that person that everybody comes to or you know ask for help for all intents and purposes. So it occurred to me that when it comes to men, because men are problem solvers, men's best friends are themselves first. It's kind of ironic considering that, the suicide rates are high. But at the end of the day, if you actually realize this, your best friend would always be you first. Then, second, your best friend would be a dog. It's sad, but it's ironic, but it's true. Because at the end of the day, a dog would never harm you in any way, shape, or form. A dog would always love you. A dog would always be there for you. A dog would always meet you at the door, greet you at the door because it's happy to see you. So at the end of the day, men really don't need anything else but themselves and a dog, which is sad and true. The sad part about that is over the many years and over evolution, we've been taught to rely heavily or invest heavily into the other half of the species, sadly. And the other half of the species has evolved to the point where they can give two shits if you live or die. Sadly. It's sad, but it's true. This is typically why I've always had dogs growing up, or this is typically why I always had animals growing up around me, because I know that those animals care more about me because they rely heavily on me to keep them alive and keep them fed and well health, basically. It's sad, but it's true. All the way up to the oxes that I've always raised, from Alvaro and El Jefe, to the dogs that I've always have, Shiva and Loki, and the horses that I've always had. For all intents and purposes, they've always been, they've always been, they've always returned love and affection, basically, because they appreciate what you do for them. Sadly, well, it's not sad, but it's true. They appreciate what you do for them. They appreciate what you do for them. Unlike the other half of the species of humans, they really don't give a damn what you do for them, or it's basically what have you done for them lately. Whereas animals remember what you did for them yesterday, 2 seconds ago, 5 seconds ago, 3 seconds ago. Hell, even the meanest, roughest, toughest dog, if it gets caught in some shit, it remembers that you saved them. Sadly. Hell, I've seen mountain lions, vicious mountain lions, get saved by a human being and gone. Don't attack the human being and go on about their merry way. I mean, granted they'll act like, oh yeah, I had that, nigga, I had that all day. Or like I was going to get myself out. I was just mainly like, just resting. I was just resting. They act like they act all cool, calm, and collective, like they had it, but they really don't. But they realize that you saved their life, and they go on about their merry way, and they typically don't attack you. And it's one thing that you have to understand as a man, that you first are your own best friend. You first will be the only person that will solve your problems throughout your whole entire life. If you need companionship, get a dog or an animal for all intents and purposes. Dogs mainly, more so than anything else, because it don't matter what the hell is going on, they'll always be happy to see you at the door. They'll always be happy to see you at dinner time. They'll always be happy to see you at bedtime, in the morning, when you're walking them, when you take them out for a ride, when you take them to, well, except for when you take them to the vet. That's a whole nother story. But they're typically always happy to see you. So I would say a man's best, outside of the man, a man's best friend would be his dog or an animal that he takes care of, loves, cherishes, and, make sure it's okay. The sad part about that is, like I said, we've gotten so far in society away from who we are as men, we wrap our whole entire identity up in the other half of the species, or the other, or everybody else in the world, when in fact we forget all about ourselves. When we lose purpose, this is typically when all the bad stuff starts happening, where suicide rates go through the roof, or you know a man is contemplating if he's wanting to walk out of his whole entire life, or depression, or alcoholism, or drugs and stuff like that. This is where shit starts going south, when you wrap your whole entire identity up in society. This is why men never make it in the world. This is why men eat themselves at a high rate. This is why men have high mortality rates at work, because we wrap ourselves so hard in what we do and who we are. So at the end of the day, what I say to men is, sometimes you got to be selfish. Sometimes you got to think of yourself. Because at the end of the day, nobody else is thinking of you. Humanoid wise, nobody else is thinking of you. Sadly, except for yourself. Nobody ever cares about you. You care about everybody else in the world but yourself. And like I always said, it's kind of like the meme that always floats around the internet. If you were starving and you didn't have any food, would you share your food with your dog? And you see a bunch of, well, yeah, I would do that. In a heartbeat, I would share all my food with my dog. And it's like, okay, you're not thinking about yourself. So if you die, who's going to take care of your dog? And this is the problem that I have with human beings, especially in the Western world. This is typically how you know when you have first world country problems. When people think that, passing up a couple meals will save their lives, basically, for their dog. This is when you know you have first world country problems. Because at no point should anybody be passing up meals to save an animal. Because at the end of the day, once you go malnourished, who's going to care for that animal if nobody knows you're dead? Who's going to care for that other human being if you're a single father, if nobody knows you're dead? Same thing goes for women, because women do this shit quite often. So when you die, who's taking care of your children? Or who's taking care of your animals? It's the cold hard truth in life. Because I've always been raised, because like in the manosphere, you'll hear people say, well, you're going to die alone. Well, last I checked, unless I was a twin, I was born alone. And even if you're a twin, you were basically born alone, because your twins still got to wait a couple minutes before they come out. So technically, you were born alone. And at the end of the day, they don't make caskets with bunk beds. So unless they start making those, I die alone. I'm just saying. This ain't ancient Egypt. They ain't mummifying my whole entire family when I pass away last I checked. So I'm dying alone. But yeah, man, you got to remember this shit. What's up, Chronic Blast? What's up, No Name? But yeah, you got to remember this as men. Your best friend will always be you first. And anything outside of you, we're talking living object, living thing, your best friend would always be a dog or an animal. At the end of the day, nobody will ever care for you the way you will care for yourself, or an animal would care for you, or be happy to see you. It's just facts. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are those few exceptions to the rules where shit like that happens, but does that person really care about you? Or does that person care what you actually do for them? You see what I'm saying? Remember that. Does that person actually care for you? Or does that person actually care what you do for them? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's, like I said, there's outliers to this whole entire thing, but Who has time to look for those? Who has time to search high and low and waste most of their life looking for those at the end of the day? But that's about it. Be good to yourselves. Treat yourselves like nothing, don't spoil yourselves. And remember, you're your own best friend. And second, your dog is your best friend. And the last person that would ever be your friend would be another man in a time of crisis or need, basically. Men always have this ability to band together to take on bigger problems, sadly, because that's what we have to do sometimes. Because sometimes the job is way too big for one man. You got to pull it. You got to go get another man to actually help you take down this mammoth, or another man to help you take down this lion, basically, or this animal, or this this food, basically, so you can eat and survive. So your third and last best friend will probably be another man in a time of crisis and need. This is Vedic Ghost. Y'all have a blessed day.
A nigga might be from a third world country, but a nigga got standards.
Me llegan a casa, no se capea. Solo modelos como Barea.